Ethan sat in his small apartment on Earth, looking at the strange invitation card on his table. The card was shiny and light blue, almost glowing in the dim room. He turned it over and over in his hands, reading the golden letters again. It said that he was invited to a royal wedding on the planet Lyra, home of the Lyrian people. The sender was his old friend Sam, who now worked as an ambassador for humans in the Lyrian capital. Ethan still remembered the first time he met Sam. They both grew up in the same neighborhood. Sam was always the more adventurous one, always talking about space and meeting aliens. When the invitation came, it was a surprise, but Ethan trusted Sam. He felt both nervous and excited. He did not know much about Lyrian traditions. He only knew that Lyrians were peaceful and very friendly to visitors from Earth. Ethan packed a small bag with his best clothes and a simple gift, as Sam had told him it was polite to bring something for the hosts. He wondered what would be a good gift for an alien wedding. After thinking for a long time, he picked a small music box that played a gentle melody. He hoped it would be special enough. When it was time to leave, Ethan took a transport to the main spaceport. He looked out the window as the city faded into the distance. The stars above looked brighter than usual. The spaceport was busy, filled with people from different worlds. Ethan had never seen so many kinds of aliens before. Some had colorful feathers, others had long arms or glowing eyes. He felt small and a bit lost, but the workers at the spaceport were kind and helped him find the right ship. The journey to Lyra was fast thanks to new human technology. As the ship landed, Ethan looked out at the city of Lyris. It was beautiful, full of shining towers, floating gardens, and bright blue rivers. The air was cool and fresh. Sam met him at the arrival gate with a big smile. "Ethan, you made it," Sam said, grabbing his hand and shaking it. Sam looked a little older now, but still had the same bright eyes. He wore a mix of human and Lyrian clothes. "I'm glad you invited me," Ethan said, smiling back. "But I have no idea what to do at an alien wedding," Sam laughed. "Just follow me. The Lyrians love visitors. And don't worry, I'll explain the important things." They walked through the city, passing crowds of aliens in bright clothes. Ethan saw Lyrians with blue skin and silver hair, always smiling. There were decorations everywhere. Floating lanterns glowed in the air, and flower petals drifted down from the rooftops. The whole city seemed to be celebrating. Sam led Ethan to a guest house near the royal palace. The room was large and comfortable, with a big window looking out over the gardens. Ethan put down his bag and sat on the bed for a moment, taking it all in. That night, Sam took Ethan to a welcome feast. The food was colorful and tasty, full of new flavors. Ethan tried something that looked like fruit, but it melted in his mouth like ice cream. There was music too, with gentle bells and deep drums. Everyone was friendly, asking Ethan about Earth and laughing at his stories. The next day was the wedding. Sam came early to help Ethan get ready. He gave him a light robe with silver patterns and showed him how to tie the sash. "This is what guests wear to the royal ceremony," Sam said. "You look good." Ethan followed Sam to the palace. The building was huge, with tall columns and sparkling walls. The main hall was filled with guests from many worlds. There were banners in every color, and the air smelled like flowers. At the front of the hall was a wide platform, decorated with crystals that caught the sunlight. Ethan watched as the Lyrians started the opening ceremony. The elders stood at the front, speaking in their musical language. There was singing, and a group of dancers moved in perfect circles. Sam whispered in Ethan's ear, explaining some of the traditions. After a while, the elders invited the guests to join a parade around the hall. Sam went ahead to greet some friends. Ethan, trying to be polite, followed the crowd. At one point, he saw a spot near the platform that looked empty. Wanting a better view, he stepped forward and stood in that spot. Looking around in wonder, unknown to Ethan, this was a special place, reserved for the suitor chosen by the princess. Some of the Lyrians glanced at him, their eyes wide, but Ethan did not notice. He was too busy looking at the flowers and the shining crystals. He heard soft music and smiled, enjoying the moment. A young Lyrian woman with blue skin and silver hair approached Ethan. She was tall and graceful, wearing a dress that sparkled in the light. Ethan realized she must be someone important, maybe. Even the princess. She looked at him with curious eyes and a gentle smile. "Hello," she said in perfect English. "I am Lyra. Thank you for coming to our wedding." Ethan smiled, a little embarrassed. "Thank you for inviting me." "Everything here is beautiful. I'm Ethan from Earth," Lyra nodded. "You chose a very special place to stand. Are you ready for the dance?" Ethan laughed nervously. "I hope so. I don't know any of your dances, but I'll try." Lyra took his hand and led him onto the platform. The music grew louder, and the crowd watched as Ethan and Lyra stood together in the center. The other dancers circled around them. Ethan tried to follow Lyra's movements. He copied her steps as best he could, feeling clumsy but happy. Lyra smiled at him, and he relaxed a little. The crowd started to cheer, and the elders clapped their hands. Someone placed a garland of glowing flowers around Ethan's neck. He looked at Lyra, who gave him a kind, understanding look. The music ended, and the dancers bowed. Ethan stepped off the platform, feeling a little dizzy. He thought the dance was over, but the whole room was watching him. Sam ran up, his face full of shock and excitement. "Ethan, do you know what you just did?" Sam asked, his voice low. Ethan shrugged. "I just danced with the princess. She was really nice." Sam shook his head, laughing. "You just took part in the suitors' dance. That spot was for the princess's chosen mate." "Everyone saw you." Ethan felt his face turn red. "Wait, what does that mean?" Before Sam could answer, the elders called for silence. They walked up to Ethan and Lyra. The oldest elder spoke in a clear, soft voice. "You have completed the suitors' dance with our princess. According to Lyrian tradition, you are now her chosen partner. The bond is strong and the ceremony is complete." Ethan stood frozen. The crowd started to cheer again. Lyra squeezed his hand gently and smiled. Ethan looked at Sam, then at Lyra, and then at the elders. He did not know what to say. Everything had happened so fast. He was just a guest at an alien wedding, and now everyone believed he was married to the princess. Lyra leaned closer and whispered, "Do not worry. I will explain everything soon." Ethan nodded, still in shock. The room spun around him as the celebrations continued. He had come to Lyra to see an alien wedding. He never expected to become the center of it all. Ethan stood still as the cheers from the wedding guests echoed through the great hall. He could hardly believe what had just happened. He had only tried to enjoy the ceremony and join the celebration, but now everyone thought he was the princess's chosen mate. His hands were shaking as he looked at Lyra, who stood by his side. She did not look angry or upset. Instead, she looked at him kindly, as if she understood how confused he felt. After a few moments, Lyra leaned closer and spoke quietly. "Please do not worry. This is a happy day for my people. I will help you." Ethan nodded, trying to calm himself. He saw Sam moving through the crowd toward him. Sam looked excited and worried at the same time. "Ethan, you really did it," Sam said, almost laughing. "You stood in the suitor's place, and now you're part of the royal family." Ethan shook his head. "I didn't mean to. I just wanted to see everything up close." Sam put a hand on his shoulder. "Lyrian customs are very old. The people believe in signs and fate. Once you danced with the princes on the platform, the elders had no choice. It's a very important tradition." Ethan took a deep breath and looked at the elders, who were speaking with some of the other guests. The music started up again, and the celebration continued. Ethan felt as if he was floating, watching everything happen around him. He wanted to go home, but he knew he could not leave now. Lyra reached out and gently held Ethan's hand. She smiled at him. "Would you walk with me?" Ethan nodded, and they left the main hall together. They walked through the palace gardens, past shining fountains and glowing flowers. The air was cool and soft. Lyra led him to a quiet place where they could sit and talk. "I am sorry for what happened," Lyra said softly. "I know you did not expect this." As Ethan smiled a little, "It's not your fault." "I should have paid more attention." Lyra looked thoughtful. "Many of our guests do not understand our ways. I did not want a traditional marriage." My parents and the elders wanted me to choose a noble suitor, but I always hoped for something different. When I saw you standing there, I felt like maybe this was my chance for a new path." Ethan listened as Lyra told him about her life in the palace. She said it was beautiful but also lonely. Everyone expected her to be perfect and follow old rules. She dreamed about seeing other worlds and meeting people from different places. She liked that Ethan was honest and simple, not trying to impress anyone. Ethan told her about his own life on Earth. He spoke about his small apartment, his job as a mechanic, and his favorite hobbies. He said he was not special, just someone who liked quiet days and good friends. Lyra listened with interest, asking questions about things like rain, trees, and music on Earth. They laughed as Ethan tried to describe how people dance at weddings. Back home, Lyra showed him a few simple Lyrian dance steps. They both felt more relaxed. For a while, they forgot about the crowd and the pressure of the ceremony. After some time, Sam found them in the garden. "The elders want to speak with you both," he said. "They have some questions." Ethan and Lyra followed Sam back inside. In a smaller room, the elders waited for them. Their faces were serious but not unkind. The oldest elder spoke first. "Ethan, do you understand what has happened? You have become part of our family and will have new duties as Lyra's mate. Do you accept this?" Ethan hesitated. He wanted to say no, but he saw Lyra looking at him with hope in her eyes. He did not want to disappoint her or the people who believed in their customs. I will try to understand your ways and do my best," Ethan said quietly. The elders nodded. "You have shown respect for our traditions. That is enough for now. There will be time to learn more." They gave Ethan a small book about Lyrian culture and customs. Lyra promised to help him study. The elders also told him that the wedding bond was not only a rule, but a chance to bring their worlds closer together. After the meeting, Lyra walked Ethan to his guest room. She told him he could stay in the palace if he wanted. Ethan thanked her and agreed, wanting to make things easier for everyone. His new room was large and full of soft lights. There was a view of the city below and a soft bed waiting for him. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, thinking about everything that had happened. He was tired, but his mind was busy with questions. He wondered what his family and friends on Earth would say if they knew. He wondered if he would ever fit in with the Lyrians. That night he dreamed of blue gardens and soft music. He saw Lyra smiling at him, reaching out her hand. He felt a little less afraid. The next morning, Ethan woke up to the sound of gentle music from the garden. Lyra knocked on his door, holding a tray of breakfast. She sat with him and talked about the day's events. She explained that there would be more ceremonies, but nothing as important as the first one. They could use the day to get to know each other better. Ethan was glad for the chance to talk more with Lyra. They walked together through the palace, visiting different rooms. Lyra showed him her favorite places, like the library and the art gallery. She loved to paint and showed him her pictures of the Lyrian sky. Ethan told her about his work as a mechanic. He described how he fixed machines and enjoyed taking things apart to see how they worked. Lyra was curious and asked if he could fix anything in the palace. Ethan offered to look at a broken music box in the royal music room. Lyra smiled and said she would bring it later. At lunchtime, Sam joined them in the palace garden. He told stories about his own adventures with the Lyrians and made everyone laugh. He also explained more about Lyrian traditions and how to avoid misunderstandings in the future. In the afternoon, Ethan and Lyra sat by a fountain, watching the sky change colors. Lyra asked Ethan what he missed most about Earth. He said he missed his family and the rain. Lyra promised to show him a place where it sometimes rained on Lyra, a rare and beautiful event. As the sun set, Lyra and Ethan returned to the main hall for another celebration. The guests greeted them warmly. Some were curious about Ethan, asking questions about humans and Earth. A few nobles were not so friendly, whispering and looking doubtful, but Lyra stayed close to Ethan and made him feel safe. That night, Lyra and Ethan stood on a balcony, looking out at the lights of the city. Lyra thanked Ethan for trying so hard to understand her world. Ethan smiled and thanked her for being patient with him. They both felt that maybe things would be all right if they took each day one step at a time. As the stars came out, Ethan realized that he was no longer just a visitor. He was part of something bigger, and maybe, just maybe, he could find happiness in this strange and beautiful place. Ethan woke up the next morning feeling tired, even though his bed was soft and the palace was quiet. The memories of the wedding ceremony and the dance with Lyra came back to him, and he wondered if everything had really happened. He looked out the window at the shining towers of the city. For a moment, he wished he was back in his apartment on Earth, but then he remembered Lyra's kind smile and felt a little better. A gentle knock came at the door. Lyra was there, holding a tray of breakfast and some books. She greeted Ethan with a soft smile and set the tray on a table by the window. "Good morning, Ethan. I thought you might like to eat here," she said. Ethan sat down and looked at the breakfast. There was soft bread, sweet fruit, and a warm drink that tasted like honey and flowers. He thanked Lyra and asked her to sit with him. They ate together quietly at first. Lyra noticed Ethan's nervousness. She tried to make him comfortable by telling him about the view outside. She pointed out the floating gardens and the markets where Lyrians traded colorful goods. Ethan listened and asked questions about the city. He was curious, even if he was still a little afraid of what might happen next. After breakfast, Lyra gave Ethan the books the elders had sent. They were simple guides to Lyrian customs, history, and the meaning of the marriage bond. Lyra explained some of the most important rules. She told Ethan that the wedding was a sacred tradition, but that she wanted him to feel welcome and safe in her world. "I know you did not mean to become my husband, but I'm glad you are here," Lyra said softly. "You are different from the suitors I have met before. You ask questions and you listen. That means a lot to me." Ethan was surprised and smiled at her words. "Thank you for being so patient. I want to learn more about your people and your life." Lyra seemed happy to hear that. She offered to show him more of the palace. Together, they walked through wide halls with colorful glass windows and soft lights. Lyra explained the meaning of each room. There was a hall of music where instruments played soft tunes. There was a library filled with old books and moving pictures. Lyra showed Ethan her favorite spot, a small garden with blue flowers and a gentle fountain. They sat by the fountain, listening to the water. Lyra asked Ethan about his life on Earth. He told her stories about his family, his work fixing machines, and his favorite food. Lyra laughed at some of his stories and wanted to know more about Earth's rain and trees. She said she had only seen rain a few times in her life. "Maybe someday you can visit my world and see all these things," Ethan said. "I hope so," Lyra replied. "But for now, I am glad to have you here." As they spoke, servants came to bring messages from the elders. The royal family wanted Ethan and Lyra to take part in more celebrations. There would be feasts and dances for several days. Lyra told Ethan that they could use this time to learn about each other and show the Lyrian people that they were truly bonded. Ethan was nervous about being watched by so many people, but Lyra promised to stay by his side. She helped him choose new clothes in Lyrian style with simple colors and soft cloth. She taught him how to greet the nobles and what to say in their language. Ethan practiced until he could say simple greetings without mistake. Lyra was patient, and her gentle encouragement made Ethan feel more confident. That afternoon, they went to the palace kitchen, where cooks prepared food for the festival. Ethan was surprised to see that the kitchen staff welcomed him warmly. Lyra explained that the Lyrians believed food was a way to build trust and friendship. Ethan helped peel strange fruits and learned to make a sweet cake from blue flour. The cooks laughed and told stories, and Ethan began to relax. He even made a few jokes that made Lyra smile. Later, Ethan and Lyra went to the palace workshop. Lyra remembered Ethan's gift from Earth, the music box, and wanted him to show the craftsman how it worked. Ethan carefully opened the box and explained the parts to the Lyrians. The craftsman watched with interest and asked many questions. They had never seen anything quite like it before. Ethan promised to help fix another broken music box the palace owned. Lyra was impressed by Ethan's skill and patience. "You are very clever," she said. "Your people must be proud of you." Ethan blushed and shook his head. I just like to fix things, but thank you. As evening came, Lyra and Ethan joined the first festival dinner. The dining hall was full of guests from Lyra and other planets. People sang and danced, and the room was filled with joy. Some of the nobles watched Ethan with curious eyes. At first, a few of them seemed unfriendly. They spoke quietly among themselves, doubting whether a human could be a good match for their princess. Ethan noticed their stares and felt nervous, but Lyra stood by his side and introduced him to everyone. She explained to the nobles that Ethan was brave and had a kind heart. Over time, some of the guests warmed up to him and asked him about life on Earth. Ethan answered their questions honestly, and they began to see him as more than just an outsider. One older noble, Lady Myra, sat beside Ethan and asked him about his family. Ethan spoke simply about his parents and his childhood. Lady Myra listened closely and said, "You remind me of my own son, always trying to help others. I hope you will stay and bring your kindness to our world." Ethan felt grateful for her words and promised to do his best. The evening was full of laughter and stories. At the end of the night, Lyra thanked Ethan for being so patient and strong. After dinner, Ethan walked with Lyra through the palace gardens. The sky was full of bright stars, and the city lights below sparkled in every color. Lyra spoke about her hopes for the future. She said she wanted to travel to other worlds and learn about different people. Ethan said he hoped to help Lyrians learn more about humans too. They sat by a quiet pond and watched the fish swim under the glowing water. Lyra asked Ethan if he was still afraid. He admitted he was a little scared, but also curious about what might come next. Lyra smiled. "We can learn together. You do not have to face this alone." Ethan felt comforted by her words. For the first time since the wedding, he believed things could work out. He promised to try his best to understand Lyrian life and to respect their customs. Lyra promised to be his friend and guide. As the night grew late, Ethan returned to his room. He looked up at the stars and thought about the day. He knew there would be more challenges, but he also knew he was not alone. He was part of something new and special. Maybe this was where he was meant to be, even if it happened by accident. Ethan awoke early and looked out the window at the bright Lyrian sky. Today was the 4th day of the wedding festival. The palace courtyard was already busy with preparations. Colorful banners hung from the columns, and workers carried trays of food and flowers. Lyra stood by the window, watching the scene. "Good morning," Lyra said, smiling. "Are you ready?" Ethan nodded and dressed quickly in the clothes Sam had chosen for him. They were simple but neat, with pale blue fabric that matched Lyra's eyes. Lyra wore a soft white robe with silver embroidery. Together, they left the guest room and stepped into the long corridor. In the courtyard, many guests had gathered. Lyra held Ethan's hand as they walked among the nobles and ambassadors. Some guests bowed politely. Others whispered among themselves. Ethan felt their eyes on him, some curious, some doubtful. He gripped Lyra's hand tightly, but she gave him a reassuring smile. They moved to a small stage at the center of the courtyard. Lyra spoke to the master of ceremonies, a tall Lyrian named Kane. He explained the next event. A friendly competition of skills between Ethan and Lyra. The Lyrians loved to test the bond of a new couple. Today, they would have to work together. Ethan's heart raced. He did not know what to expect. Lyra squeezed his hand again. "We will do fine. Just follow my lead." The first challenge was a puzzle game. On a low table lay several crystal tiles with glowing symbols. The tiles were mixed up, and the pair had to match symbols and complete a pattern. Ethan looked at the tiles, trying to understand the strange shapes. Lyra studied them too and pointed to the matching symbols. They worked together, placing tiles carefully. Some symbols glowed brighter when matched, giving them hints. The crowd watched in silence. Together, they solved the puzzle. The pattern shone with blue light. The crowd clapped and Kane smiled. Lyra beamed at Ethan, proud of their teamwork. The next challenge was a balance test. Ethan and Lyra had to cross a narrow bridge above a small pool of water. They held a glowing orb between them and had to keep it lifted without dropping it. Ethan took a deep breath. Lyra whispered, "Stay calm and walk slowly. I will guide you." Ethan nodded. They stepped onto the bridge. The orb was heavy but warm. They inched forward, step by careful step. Ethan looked at Lyra and matched his pace. The crowd gasped as their hands shook, but Lyra kept them steady. At the end of the bridge, they placed the orb on a pedestal. It glowed brightly, and the water below sparkled. The crowd erupted in applause. Some nobles clapped, but Ethan saw a few frown. He noticed Lord Caleb, a tall noble with dark hair and sharp features, watching with a cold look. Ethan wondered why the man seemed displeased. After the ceremony, Lyra led Ethan to a quiet hall. "Some people are upset," she said quietly. "Lord Caleb believes I should marry someone from his family? He thinks you are not worthy." Ethan felt a surge of anger. "Why does he care so much?" Lyra shook her head. "He wants to keep power within his family. My marriage could unite our worlds in peace, but he fears change." Ethan took Lyra's hand. "Then we will show him we belong together. We will prove that our bond is strong," Lyra smiled. "I believe in you." That afternoon, Lyra invited Ethan to visit the palace archives. There they looked at old records of past royal marriages. Ethan saw pictures of Lyrian couples and read about their bonds. He learned that unity and respect were the most important parts of the bond. He understood that his kindness and honesty mattered more than his human origins. As they studied, a servant brought a message from Lord Caleb. The note said he wished to speak with Ethan alone. Lyra's face grew serious. "You must be careful," she warned. "He may try to intimidate you." Ethan nodded and stood to leave. Lyra hugged him. "Trust yourself. You have done well so far." Ethan walked to Lord Caleb's chamber, his heart pounding. He entered a dimly lit room where Lord Caleb stood by a large window. The noble's dark robe looked formal but plain. He turned to face Ethan. "So, you are the human who stole my chance to marry the princess," Lord Caleb said. His voice was calm but cold. Ethan swallowed. "I did not mean to. It was a mistake." Lord Caleb paced the room. "A mistake? You have insulted my family and our traditions. My father and I planned this marriage for years." Ethan straightened. "I did not know, but I respect your customs now. I want to learn more." Lord Caleb stopped pacing and looked at Ethan closely. "You are not like other humans. You show respect. But respect alone may not be enough." Ethan took a deep breath. "I care about Princess Lyra. I will do what I must to be worthy of her trust." Lord Caleb paused, then walked closer. "If you can prove your worth, then perhaps you deserve a place. Here, tomorrow there will be a final trial, a test of courage. Succeed, and I will recognize your bond with the princess. Fail, and—" He left the sentence unfinished. Ethan nodded. "I will be ready." The next morning, the palace courtyard was set for the final trial. A large platform stood in the center, with a mock battlefield around it. Lyra and Ethan stood together. At the start, the challenge was to retrieve a glowing relic from the center of the field, guided only by each other's voice. They would face moving obstacles and puzzles under time pressure. Ethan's heart pounded. Lyra whispered, "Stay close to me. I will guide you." They stepped onto the field. The obstacles moved slowly, floating barriers, glowing walls, and shifting paths. Ethan held Lyra's hand, following her instructions. She pointed to a barrier. Opening, Ethan moved forward. A glowing drone hovered near them, and Lyra guided Ethan around it. Together, they reached a pillar where the relic floated inside a glass case. Ethan and Lyra worked together to open the case. Lyra recited an ancient Lyrian phrase, and Ethan pushed the case open. They grabbed the relic, a small crystal glowing with soft blue light. The moment they held it, the field lights turned green and a horn sounded. They had succeeded. The crowd cheered. Lord Caleb stepped forward, clapping slowly. His face was unreadable. Lyra and Ethan walked off the platform, relic in hand. Lyra placed the relic on a pedestal before the crowd. The elders declared them true partners, bound by courage and trust. Lord Caleb approached, then bowed to Ethan. "You have proven yourself," he said. "I recognize your bond with the princess. May your partnership bring strength to our people." Ethan nodded, relieved. Lyra took his hand and smiled brightly. The crowd cheered again. That evening, the festival ended with a grand feast. The nobles greeted Ethan with respect, and even Lord Caleb offered a warm toast to their union. Ethan realized that, though the path had been hard, his honesty and willingness to learn had won the respect of Lyra's people. As the night ended and the guests departed, Ethan and Lyra stood on the palace balcony. Lyra looked at Ethan with pride in her eyes. "You did it," she said softly. "You faced the challenge and won." Ethan smiled and hugged her. "We did it together." They stood together under the stars, ready for the life that awaited them. Though their marriage had begun by accident, their bond was now strong and true. The next morning, Ethan woke early again. He dressed quickly and met Lyra in the main hall. Today's events were more serious. A rival noble, Lord Varon, had challenged Ethan's place beside the princess. He believed a human could not understand Lyrian values. To settle this, the elders arranged a public council meeting. The council chamber was grand, with tall windows and a long table. Around it sat the elders, nobles, and ambassadors. Ethan felt nervous as he entered, led by Lyra. Some nobles whispered about whether he should remain princess's mate. Ethan bowed respectfully. Lyra stood beside him, calm and supportive. The eldest elder spoke. "We have heard Lord Varon's complaint. He claims that Ethan's bond with the princess undermines our traditions. Lord Varon will state his case, then Ethan may respond." Lord Varon, a man with gray hair and sharp eyes, rose. His voice was firm. "Esteemed elders, I respect your customs. But a human, from a world of lesser knowledge, cannot truly honor the sacred bond. We risk offending ancestors and weakening our lineage." Murmurs rose in the chamber. Ethan swallowed hard and waited for his turn. Lyra placed her hand on his arm. He gave her a grateful look. The elder nodded to Ethan. "Now you may respond." Ethan took a deep breath and stood. He spoke in simple, but clear Lyrian. "Honored elders, I may be from Earth, but I respect your people and traditions. I have learned much from Princess Lyra. I have followed every rule and worked to understand your ways. My bond with Lyra is not a mistake. It is built on respect, trust, and caring." He paused. "I ask for your trust. I will serve Lyra with honesty and strength. I will protect the princes and our people. I want to help bring our worlds closer." In peace and friendship, silence filled the room. Lord Varon looked surprised but angry. The elders whispered among themselves. After a moment, the eldest elder spoke again. "You have spoken with courage. We will consider your words." He banged a small gavel. Meeting adjourned for deliberation. The nobles and elders left to discuss. Ethan and Lyra remained. Lyra squeezed Ethan's hand. "You were brave. Thank you." Ethan nodded, but his heart was heavy. He waited for the elders' decision. Late afternoon, the entire court gathered again. The eldest elder stood. "After careful debate, we conclude that Ethan has shown respect and understanding worthy of a true partner. Lord Varon's challenge is denied." Cheer rose in the chamber. Many nobles nodded in agreement. Even Lord Varon bowed his head. Lyra stepped forward. "I accept this decision and welcome Ethan as my mate and partner. May our bond bring strength to Lyra." Ethan stepped forward and bowed. "Thank you, Your Highness. I will do my best." After the council, a feast was held in the great hall. Music filled the air, and dancers moved in joyful patterns. Ethan and Lyra sat at the head table, smiling as guests toasted them. Ethan felt relief and pride. During the feast, Lady Myra approached. "You have shown noble heart and courage, Ethan. Lyra is lucky to have you." Ethan smiled gratefully. "Thank you, Lady Myra. Your words mean a lot to me." After the feast, Lyra and Ethan walked in the palace gardens. The night sky was clear, the stars shining bright. Lyra paused at a large statue of an ancient Lyrian. "Queen, this statue honors Queen Syra, who welcomed humans long ago," Lyra said. "She believed in unity. I feel she watches over us today." Ethan touched the stone gently. "I hope we can live up to her legacy." Lyra leaned her head on Ethan's shoulder. "We will, together." The next day, Ethan joined Lyra on a journey to meet Lyrian workers in the city. They visited a floating market where traders sold rare plants and metals. Ethan helped negotiate fair trades by showing kindness and clear words. Lyra watched proudly as people greeted Ethan warmly. They then visited Illyrian Science Academy. Lyra introduced Ethan to scholars studying human technology. Ethan explained basic principles of machines and tools. The scholars were fascinated and invited him to teach a small class. Ethan felt happy to share his knowledge. Lyra smiled. "You already bring Earth strengths to Lyra," Ethan blushed. "I just share what I know." In the evening, Lyra and Ethan returned to the palace. Lyra's parents, the king and queen, invited them for a private dinner. The royal couple was kind and wise. The queen said, "Ethan, your presence here has given us new hope. You show that. Different worlds can learn from each other." The king added, "Your journey has only begun, but we trust you will stand by our daughter and our people." Ethan bowed. "Your Majesties, I am honored. I promise to serve with loyalty." After dinner, Ethan walked Lyra to her private chambers. She thanked him for all he had done. Ethan looked at her and said, "Thank you for believing in me." Lyra smiled warmly. "Without you, I would still feel trapped by tradition. You have given me freedom to choose my own path." Ethan felt his heart warm. "I will always be by your side." They said goodnight and parted ways. Ethan returned to his room, thinking about the days ahead. He knew challenges would come, but he felt stronger with Lyra's trust. Before sleep, Ethan wrote in his small journal about his feelings. He wrote that he never expected to find love and respect in a strange world. Yet here on Lyra he felt he belonged. He closed the journal and looked at the stars beyond his window. Tomorrow would bring new tasks, but for now he was at peace. Part 6. The morning sun rose over the palace, casting soft pink light across the gardens. Ethan rose with it, feeling rested and ready for the new day. He dressed in a simple tunic that Lyra had chosen for him. It was light green with a silver trim. It felt comfortable and made him think of Earth's forests. Lyra met him at the garden gate. She held a small tablet with notes. "Today is our final day of celebrations," she said. "Tomorrow, normal life resumes. We must show the people that our bond will last beyond the festivals." Ethan nodded. He felt both excited and nervous. He understood now that as Lyra's partner, he had real duties. He wanted to honor that trust. They walked through the rose arches, where dew still hung on petals. The air was cool and carried soft birdsong. Servants greeted them with bows. They reached the marble fountain at the garden's center. Lyra turned to Ethan. "I wanted to give you something," she said. She handed him a small silver key. "This opens a private study in the palace, a place for you to work and think. I hope you will use it to learn and grow." Ethan looked at the key, touched by the gift. "Thank you, Lyra. This means a lot." Lyra smiled and kissed his cheek. They continued their walk. Soon they arrived at the city gates, where the people had gathered. Children waved small flags with both human and Lyrian symbols. Merchants sold painted masks showing both worlds. Musicians played a blend of Earth tunes and Lyrian melodies. The scene felt hopeful, as if both cultures truly celebrated together. Lyra raised her hand for silence. "People of Lyra and visitors from afar, we thank you for joining our celebration. Tomorrow the festivals end, but our bond will remain. Together we will learn from each other and build a stronger future." The crowd cheered. Ethan stood beside Lyra, holding her hand. He felt pride and determination. He stepped forward. "Friends," he began, his voice steady, "I came here by chance. I did not know what my place would be, but now I know. I will serve Lyra as best I can. I promise to work honestly and with respect. I hope to learn your ways and share my own. Together we will face challenges, but we will face them as partners. Thank you for welcoming me." The crowd cheered again, louder than before. Some teared up at the promise of unity. Ethan felt a smile spread across his face. After the ceremony, Ethan and Lyra walked back into the palace. They passed by servants who bowed deeply. They passed by nobles who offered respectful nods. Even Lord Veron stopped to shake Ethan's hand, saying, "I see your promise is true. Welcome to Lyra." Ethan thanked him. He felt that any remaining doubt had lifted. That evening, the palace held a final dinner with close friends and family. Lyra's parents sat at the table's head next to Ethan and Lyra. Sam sat nearby, beaming with pride. Guests spoke of the future and plans to strengthen ties between Earth and Lyra. The queen raised her glass of glowing wine. To Ethan and Lyra, she said, "May your bond bring peace and joy to both our worlds." Everyone toasted. Ethan lifted his glass and looked at Lyra, who smiled back. After dinner, Ethan and Lyra walked to the palace balcony. The sky was dark, but the stars shone brightly. The two looked out at the city below. "We did it," Lyra said. "We have made our mark." Ethan wrapped an arm around her. "Yes, but this is only the start. I look forward to every day with you." Lyra leaned her head on Ethan's shoulder. "Me too." They stood in silence, watching the lights. Ethan thought about his life on Earth and how different it was now. He felt grateful for Sam's friendship, for Lyra's trust, and for the kindness of the Lyrian people. Suddenly, Lyra pointed upward. "Look, it's the rain we spoke of." Small, shimmering droplets began to fall from the sky. On Lyra, rain was rare and caused flowers to glow. Ethan watched as the petals in the gardens lit up, reflecting soft colors. He felt a drop on his hand and smiled. Lyra laughed with joy. "I wanted you to see this." Ethan kissed her hand. "It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing it." They stayed on the balcony until the rain stopped. Then they returned to the palace, hand in hand. The next morning, Ethan used the silver key to open the private study. Inside were books on Lyrian history and Earth's cultures. There was a desk where he could write and a window overlooking the gardens. Ethan felt at home. He sat down and began to plan how he would continue to learn and help as days passed. Ethan taught young Lyrians about Earth's machines and engines. He learned Lyrian art and practiced their language until he could speak fluently. Together, he and Lyra met ambassadors and planned future visits to Earth. Months later, a small Lyrian delegation visited Earth. Ethan guided them through his city, showing them simple human pleasures, walking in the rain, tasting hot coffee, and watching films with friends. Lyra watched Ethan share his world, proud of how he bridged their cultures. At a ceremony on Earth, Ethan and Lyra stood before human leaders. A new human-Lyrian alliance was signed. Lyra spoke of friendship between their worlds. Ethan added, "We are stronger together." Back on Lyra, both worlds celebrated. Ethan and Lyra led the events, their partnership an example for all. Years later, the story of the accidental marriage became legend. Children on both worlds learned how a simple human named Ethan, by chance, danced with a princess and became her partner. They learned that respect, honesty, and courage can unite worlds. Ethan and Lyra ruled wisely, balancing tradition and new ideas. Their bond grew stronger with each day, and whenever someone asked about the strange wedding, they would smile and say, "It was no accident, but destiny." And so, their story became a new tradition, one that celebrated unity, understanding, and the power of an unexpected bond.